Hey everybody, my name's Robin Pollock and thanks for tuning in. I wanted to tell you a little bit about sort of where I guess this whole thing started with me and why I find that I'm talking about being authentically me. And I think the reason for me is there were so many years while I was growing up when I was younger, and I'm sure we all have this, where we feel like if we were really ourselves, then would people really want us in their group, would want us to be their friend, would think that what we're talking about or dreaming about has any is funny or interesting or even provoking. And then you get older, and as you get older, you realize that the more unique your ideas are and the more interesting they are, the more appealing they are to a group of people. But what happens is as you go along, you sort of have fed yourself with information that sharing all of you and sharing all of who you are isn't really something that's acceptable. And for many years, I always had this inclination that I had psychic ability. And I didn't really call it psychic ability. I just knew that I had this energy that was sort of like around me and following me. And when I was younger, really young, I used to think that that was my mom who passed away when I was 3. And I used to think that her, energy and her spirit were there and guiding me. And I think that was true some of the time. And I think some of the time it was other energies that were around me and following me. But I really didn't make any sense out of any of this. I sort of just decided that none of this made any sense, and I really didn't have anybody to talk to about it. There was no one in my family who had this, and there was nobody that I knew personally who had this. So I sort of stuck all those feelings and intuitions and everything like that in a drawer, like you do with old socks. You sort of stick them in the back of the drawer, and one day, maybe you open the drawer up and you take it out. And that's sort of like what happened to me. So flash forward, years go by, and I go to college and I find my mark and I decide that I'm going to be a speech pathologist. And it really held a really special place in my heart. Being a speech pathologist, I love this idea of being able to work with people who had a hard time communicating or had some difficulty in expressing themselves. The whole idea that people had ideas in their mind and they didn't have a place or a way to communicate was just, abominable to me. I couldn't even imagine what that might be like, to be in a place where you had all these ideas flourishing in your mind and that you didn't have an outlet for them. And so for the past 30 years or so, I've been a speech pathologist working with children and families with children who have communication issues. And I find it really rewarding and a real gift to be able to meet all these different children and all their families. And I worked with a whole bunch of different kinds of situations, children who had difficulty speaking, children who had difficulty eating, just really the whole gamut. And when you're working with families with children who can't communicate, you think you're really just helping the child, but truthfully what you're doing is you're helping the integrity and the health of that family. Because when you have one person in your family who can't communicate, who can't be an active member of the family, it's very sad, and you feel as though you keep waiting for that to happen, and the worry that parents have that it won't happen, and trying to accommodate for their child who cannot speak socially and how that affects them socially, and making friends and all of those things that we all take for granted are so difficult for these kids. And so it's really been just a gift to be able to work with families like this. And I always had this notion that I wanted to be a psychologist, and people have mentioned to me over the years, oh, you should be a psychologist. But the thing of it is that a lot of therapy talks about going backwards. It looks at backwards, like what happened to you when you were younger, and then after they go backwards, then they move forwards. And I sort of am coming from this place of cup half full instead of cup half empty. And I've been in therapy, and I think it's great, and all of that. But it didn't really resonate in terms of what I could do. It didn't feel like something that was part of who I was, to go backwards to then go forwards. I felt that going forwards was the motion. And you might be able to look back and see where those feelings came from. But my whole philosophy of life is, okay, so this is where you are, and how do we change that story? How do we reframe what we're really looking at and what the issues are, and what the way we're thinking, to create a positive outlook, to create a positive movement forward? Because so many times you get stuck in that negative space of what you don't have and what you can't do. Even for myself, lately I've been having a knee injury, and so I was a member of a gym for I don't know how many years, and I wasn't going to the gym because I kept on allowing the injury of my knee to be my story. I was allowing that pain that I have in my knee and the feeling that I have of being inadequate when I'm walking up to the stairs in the gym from derailing me from going to the gym, because the knee became who I was. And I had to separate that. I had to separate that injury of my knee is just a part of everything else that I am, and figure out some other way to get past it, to move forward. And I think that's, basically what I do when I work with people in life coaching, in psychic life coaching. I use my intuitive gifts along with what I know from transformational coaching to give the people that I work with and help them facilitate their movement to go forward, to create that place that they want to go to eliminate that place where they're stuck. And I think everybody couldn't benefit from that, because we all have that place where we're stuck. Just to give you another example, my mother passed away from breast cancer many years ago, and I had a really hard time going for mammographies, because every time I would go in, there would always be some bad result. There was always, a biopsy. There was always some kind of a situation. And even when I was about to go into the mammography, I could see on the faces of the people, how sad they are. And they would look at me, they would look at my results, they would see that my mom died of breast cancer, and they red flagged me or something, you know what I mean? And that energy that they were putting out, and as an empath, as a psychic, I sort of just it's basically like inhaling all of that negative energy. And I sort of decided this year that when I go, I'm going to try and create a positive energy and ask them to have a positive energy going forward, to reframe that situation. So instead of it being heavy and depressing, that it has a hope to it, and it has a place of uplifting. Because why would you want to participate in something that's heavy and depressing and sad? Nobody would. And it makes it so difficult to go do those things that we all have to do. And that's just a couple of examples of things that happen in my life every day. And everybody has their own scenario and their own place where they're stuck. And those are just two of mine. I could probably give you a laundry list of many more. But the beauty of using my psychic gifts along with my transformational coaching skills allows people to really dive deep and really explore where they want to go and where they're stuck and how they want to shake it up to change what's going forward in their lives. And people always say, I don't really know how I feel about change. And I'm just going to share this one little point that I want to make with you. It's a Robinism. And that is, change is beautiful. Change is incredible. Every moment that we're alive, we change. We change our outlook. We learn something new. In almost every moment of every day, there's something that happens that inspires us, that's a muse for us. And so you never know what the next moment's going to bring. And if you allow yourself the opportunity to look at the things that are around you and the information that's around you as magic to you, to inspire you, to give you a sense of wonder, of what is left for you to even explore going forward, you can't help but feel excited. You can't help but feel good. And feeling good and being positive is a real choice. It's a choice that I make every day, because I don't feel that being negative and being pessimistic allows for any kind of transformation and is not in the space that I want to live my life. I look for the light and for the beauty in everything that goes on around me. And some days when it's thick and I can't find it, those are the days I reach out to my coaches and my friends to inspire me. And usually they do. And it leads me to the next moment. So I hope this inspires you. And I just want to say thanks for tuning in. Bye.